Cryptids like to hang out in places that aren't just the good old US of A. A one-eyed Indian tale of battling a band of red-haired hunchback giants has caused speculation that a tribe of Stone Age beings may inhabit the jungles of northern Peru. The men were described as olive-skinned, barefooted, hunched back, more than 6 foot 6 inches tall, with feet twice the size of normal folks. One scientist recently said he doubted their existence, but a well-known amateur anthropologist said it was well within scientific probability. Now, these giants have only been reported in San Juan province, an area of rainforests and wooded foothills east of the Andes. Its roughly 200,000 residents have no telephone service or paved roads, according to my research. Rumors of giant tribesmen have circulated frequently in the past and received fresh momentum when an explorer said he had stumbled upon them. Carlos Terrelza, discoverer of the ruins of a lost Indian city in San Martin province, said he had found the giants when he was lost for 2 weeks in the jungle. He said they were clad only in animal skins with reddish hair and spoke a dialect he had never heard. It also fled at his approach. Well, days later, 2 Lima newspapers, Ultima Hora and La Prensa, quoted an Indian guide, Encarnacion de Puri, as saying that at one point a group of about 15 folks armed with thick wooden clubs, stone-headed axes, and hardwood lances attacked a camp of professional hunters. La Prensa said the tribesmen had abducted 3 women and wounded 5 men in the camp before being driven off by the blasts. Ultima Hora said 5 men, 3 women, and more had been injured, but did not mention any kidnapping. Well, the director at the time of the Regional Center of Indian Remains, Cristobal Crespana, said, "I don't believe in the existence of these hunchbacked men. They correspond to precisely none of the racial traits of the people seen in the Andean region so far." But Carlos A. Silva, a policeman and amateur anthropologist who traveled widely in the Peruvian jungles, said the indigenous Peruvians could adapt very easily to live into the forested areas of the foothills. Nevertheless, not going there. An interesting video has emerged from Mexico that shows what appears to be a small bipedal humanoid scurrying across a road. The video was reportedly captured in January of 2024 by a security camera at a farm in the city of Monterrey and subsequently offered online back in May. So a small dark form exits from a wooden area on the side of the road and then darts across the dirt path. Then it just vanishes back into the brush. So some folks believe it is the sighting of a duende, a humanoid figure of folklore that is comparable to goblins, dwarves, gnomes, or leprechauns. Fun fact, by the way, in Spanish, duende originated as a contraction of the phrase dueño de casa, effectively master of the house. Or perhaps it's derived from some similar mythical being of the Visigoth or Swabian culture, given it kind of looks similar to the tomte of the Swedish language, which is conceptualized, if I'm not mistaken, as a mischievous spirit inhabiting a dwelling. Nevertheless, little guy? Demonic? Spanish folklore is rich in tales and legends about various types of duendes. The anjanas, buscosos, dianos, enanos, elfos, hadas, gnomos. I could go on and on. In some regions of Spain, duendes may have other names like the trasnos in Galicia, folets in Catalonia, trasgas in Asturias, menutos or mendos in Valle de Hecho, and I hope I didn't butcher any of those, and if I did, I'm so sorry, I tried. In November of 2009, Greg Warner and his team reported on and supplied photographs of a giant snake near the jungle city of Iquitos in Peru. So the photograph showed a trail at least 5 meters wide, and they also provided video evidence to support their photos and eyewitness accounts. It's believed to be a Yacumama, which is an enormous serpent believed to be the mother of all aquatic animals. According to legends, the Yacumama would suck up any living thing that passed within 100 steps of it. So to protect themselves, the local indigenous folks would blow on a conch horn before entering the water. Why? Well, they believed that the Yacumama would reveal itself if it was present if they did that. So in the human settlement, 24 de Mayo, the dwellers got into a panic when they saw that on the enormous swamp located at the back part of the settlement, a huge silhouette of dragged grass and mud was visible, attributing the event to the Yacumama, although other folks thought it was a gigantic boa. So one eyewitness claimed it started to move like this, circulate until it found a way out over there, and then you cannot say there was a channel over there because everything was plain. As you can see, it was plain. All this is a trail that it made. It wanted to get out that way, but then turned over there, it turned over this way, it took all this. So if you keep walking that way, you can see this, it remained like this. I know, a little confusing, but still, this is evidence that the black boa, the Yacumama, the Sacamama, the minnow cow are one and the same in terms of cryptid classification. because all modern description and photographic evidence kind of points to this conclusion. Strikingly tall skeletons uncovered in the Ecuador and Peru Amazon region are undergoing examination in Germany, according to a research team headed by British anthropologist Russell Dement. Well, since 2013, the team has reported finding half a dozen human skeletons dating to the early 1400s and the mid-1500s that measure between 7 to 8 feet in height. In late 2013, Dement received word that a skeleton had been uncovered by a Shuar local, approximately 70 miles from Cuenca, in the Loja province in Ecuador. So Dement traveled to the site and recovered the rib cage and the skull of a female which had been exposed by flooding, and the bones dated back like 600 years. So then they found the rest of the skeleton, and once assembled, it was about 7'4" in height. So this prompted the formation of a research team, including 4 researchers from the Freie University in Germany and the assistance of locals. So recognizing it as a controversial area of research, Dement noted, even though I had been working with that university for many years, I was concerned that they might not give a grant for someone looking for giants. Because he's like, to outsiders, especially scientists, I understand this sounds a little harebrained. And because of the sensational nature of this, he had to be extremely diligent in research because, well, there's going to be skeptics. 3 skeletons that were complete and 2 partials that had no disfiguration and were relatively healthy were all found. Now, these burials were elaborate. These bodies were wrapped in leaves, buried in thick clay, which helped to seal the skeletons and protect them against water intrusion. So everything was in fairly good condition. Dement had previously studied Amazonian indigenous communities for more than 2 decades, and he had heard the legends of the very tall, pale-skinned people who used to live nearby. Community elders described them to Dement as a race of large, peaceful Amazonians who were welcomed by the indigenous folks. However, the locals also believed that these people belonged to the spirit world and were very mythical. And in 2002, during an expedition to the coal mines in La Guarija, launched by the University of Florida and Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, large thoracic vertebrae and ribs were unearthed by the students Jonathan Block and Carlos Jaramillo. So more fossils were unearthed over the course of the expedition, eventually adding up to like 186 fossils from 30 individuals. And this expedition lasted until 2004. During which the fossils of Titanoboas were mistakenly labeled as those of crocodiles. Well, in 2009, Mike Warner, a retired lithographer from Lisbon, poured his life savings into a search for the giant snake. First he commissioned satellite imagery, and then there was the 2-week expedition to the Amazon rivers. He was accompanied by his son Greg, and they traveled there to try and capture evidence of the Titanoboa. They had a whole team, they were doing aerial surveys and everything. Well, after 12 days in the jungle, hazardous weather conditions, hundreds of still photographs, and hours of video, these guys found a photo of a Titanoboa. This thing was 40 meters long and 2 meters wide. Sure, there's been some debate about just how large a modern snake can grow, but evidence is pointing to the big snake of legend. And hey, Mike and his son were like, we're gonna come back, we're gonna do more. And I'm like, okay, good luck folks, not for me. Well, that's all for today everybody. I've been Alexa, see ya!